We've got an update in the courtroom and the transfer portal as West Virginia looks to get a little bit more help and maybe establish a little bit more depth on the roster ahead of the 2025 football season. We're going to talk about that here today on Between the Years. Welcome back, everybody. It is another episode of Between the Ears. I'm Skylar Callahan. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button here on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI. A friendly reminder before we get going here, a schedule for our shows coming up this year. Between the Years, of course, still dropping every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday throughout football season. The Walkthrough Game Day show with myself and Eugene Napoleon breaking down the Mountaineers matchup for that week will air every Thursday morning. And, of course, the Mountaineer postgame show immediately after every WVU football and basketball, men's basketball game. Football with myself and Eugene Napoleon, and basketball TBD as to what our plan is for that. But so let's go and get into it. Roster additions, possibilities. The roster could be getting some help a lot here in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks. Starting first with the transfer portal. Rich Rodriguez met with reporters yesterday after the first padded practice in fall camp and talked about the transfer portal possibilities. Here's what the Mountaineers are looking at according to the head ball coach.
Finding who's out there, if they're eligible, what the interest is, and do we want to try to bring them in now? So there's a bunch of guys in the portal, but there's a running back or two. There might be an old lineman or two that we're looking at. And I've told my recruiting staff, just keep looking. You know, it's hard to add now. They'll be so far behind. But, you know, we have some concerns about depth at certain positions, and we got to make sure we're addressing it.
So no surprise after the first couple of days that there were some, I don't know if you want to call them complaints, but there were some noted quotes from Rich Rod about the running backs and tapping out and not getting through the entire practice or workout without taking a breather or calling for a trainer. So it's not too much of a surprise there. They are a little bit banged up at the position. So getting another running back in the fold is definitely probably something that's going to happen. As far as names, I haven't actually really heard anything concrete. There's a bunch of players out there still, and trying to find a guy that can come in and help you right away is going to be tough at this point because they're going to be playing from behind, like Rich Rod said. But nonetheless, you need to get bodies in that room. You don't know what's going to happen with Tye Edwards. We're going to get to that here in a second. But if you don't have Tye Edwards, you need to find a power running back. And I think, to me, that's probably the one thing that they're going to be looking for. Not going to probably get a 6'2", 240 guy like we said the other day, but you can still find a guy that's got a little bit more mass and can run between the tackles and take some of those bigger hits that you want to try and eliminate off of Jaheim White and Jalen Knighton and some of the other smaller backs on the roster. As far as pickups, we do have one. We have confirmed that Oregon State pass rusher Oluwayesi Omotosho is going to be coming to the Mountaineers via the transfer portal. Began his career at Wyoming, spent 3 years there. 2020 season impacted by COVID. 2021, he took a red shirt. 22 is when he broke out, had 46 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, then made the move to Oregon State, where he saw limited action in 23. Had a little bit more of a role last year, but still only had 14 tackles and a tackle for loss. But at the end of the day, again, you're going to need more bodies, and Omotosho is that. He's played a lot of football, may not have high-level production. Is he going to be an all-Big 12 guy? Probably not. But, again, you're filling out that room. The Bandit room, at least on defense, that's probably one of the thinnest groups on that side of the ball. You have Marshawn Oxley, the JUCO transfer from Hutch. You have Braden Siders that comes in from Wyoming, Keenan Eck from junior college. You need more guys in that room. Curtis Jones, of course, the in-state kid. But getting a guy here that's played some ball can certainly help you out. And again, I don't know that he's going to be able to help you out too much right away, too, because he's going to be playing from behind as well. But maybe he can help you on special teams throughout the first month of the season as he gets caught up to speed, and then maybe he can find a way to crack that rotation. So Oluwayesi the new Mountaineer pass rusher. And finally, the big news, the big news, potentially big news. We already heard about the four players on the West Virginia roster taking their eligibility cases to court, but we found out yesterday that the 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 latest update in this situation could kind of favor West Virginia here, and that is a report from Sam Ehrlich, legal expert. He tweeted and also has the documents on his X account as well, and that is at Sam C. Ehrlich. That's Ehrlich. And that is West Virginia University football eligibility cases have indeed been reassigned to Judge John Preston Bailey after Judge Tom Kleeh recused, citing his support of WVU athletics. This is the same situation from a couple of years ago with the Raekwon Battle situation. And as he goes on to note, Bailey, of course, presided over that case in 2023 and ruled that the NCAA's year in residence transfer rule violated antitrust law. So I don't want to get ahead of this thing and say that these four Mountaineers are going to be strapping up for the team this season, but it seems like things are pretty much heading that way. Now, these two things are completely different. The transfer rule and getting an extra year, they're not one and the same, right? There's a lot of different, and even in these four cases, they're all four of these are kind of completely different because of their paths in the past, what have happened, where they went to or when they went to junior college, the COVID year, injuries, so on and so forth. So even these four cases are not identical. But I think from what we've seen in the past is that Bailey is probably going to side more on the side of the athlete. And if that's the case, then you're going to have four new Mountaineers helping you out. But there's no date that has been determined as of right now, so it's still kind of a TBD situation as to when we'll actually find out. But this in of itself, in my opinion, is great news that Bailey's going to be over this case or four cases or however you want to coin it or term it. But the fact that he's going to be over this kind of gives some optimism that you're going to have those four guys, or maybe you're going to have some of them. Again, this is not one decision covers all. I think they're going to be visiting each of these individually. Maybe they don't. I'm not really sure. I'm not a legal expert. I'm going to be truthful with you right there. I do not know a whole bunch about this kind of legal jargon stuff. I did a lot of research before trying to figure out where this could end up based on similar situations. And again, no case is the same. That's kind of the one common theme that I've picked up is just because you have two players that may have had similar paths doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get to the same ruling. It really comes down to the judge. And again, in this case, you think that there's some optimism there because of previous rulings, because of what happened with Raekwon Battle. You feel pretty good about it. Now, in the event that that's not the case, and for whatever reason, Bailey says, nope, no extra year for any of these four, well, you're going to have some issues at running back. Again, like I mentioned a minute ago with Tye Edwards, you don't have that power back. I think at receiver, you can probably still be okay without Jeff Weimer. Defensive line, Jimmori Robinson, that's going to be a massive hit. And in the back end with Justin Harrington, I think you have enough safeties. There's several guys that have played a lot of ball in their last year of eligibility that have played high-level football. So I think you're okay at safety. But losing Jimmori Robinson, losing Tye Edwards, those are the two that I think would greatly impact this team. I mean, they went out and got Jimmori Robinson thinking he's going to be their premier pass rusher. And if for whatever reason this case doesn't go his way, they're going to have to get creative in finding ways to get to the quarterback. We talked about this just a couple of days ago. Fortunately, they have Zach Alley, who knows how to create pressure in various ways, but they're going to need guys to step up too. You can't just have, one guy take over. It's going to have to be done in the aggregate. I mean, you look at the three, Hammond Russell, Eddie Vestrin, and Eddie Kelly Jr., the Missouri transfer. Those three combined have 10.5 sacks for their career, and they're all seniors. So you're going to have to find some level of pass rush. And maybe that's, again, you're not finding an all Big 12 type player in the portal right now, but maybe that's going back into the portal again. Maybe Omotosho is, a little bit of insurance. I know he's going to be more at the bandit, whereas Robinson's going to be with his hand in the dirt, but still you're trying to find ways to get to the quarterback. Omotosho could be a part of trying to make up for not having Jimmori Robinson potentially. So there's going to be some shaking and moving for sure. This is a fall camp that we have never seen before with so many moving parts coming in late. Well, I shouldn't say so many moving parts. You got a few kind of waiting in the balance there that they're out doing their own stuff that could be added in here in the next couple of days or weeks. And then you also have guys like Omotosho. You may have another running back or two, an offensive lineman or two that might get into the mix. It's almost like free agency in the NFL. Actually, it's not almost. It basically is free agency, where you're going through training camp and you see NFL GMs all the time just churn through the bottom of the roster constantly. Through the first couple of preseason games, trying to get new guys opportunities and see if there's anything there. Take a flyer on a guy, and that's kind of where we're at right now. You're just trying to find some guys that are at the bottom of the roster that can help fill out depth and also maybe provide a little bit of an impact on special teams. So that's kind of where we are, but the depth is certainly an issue. Rich Rod talked about it at length during his press conference yesterday. He doesn't feel good about depth anywhere. And that was when he was asked specifically about the offensive line. So Saturday's a big day. It's the team's first scrimmage. We'll start to probably figure out some things in regards to some position battles. I don't think we're going to hear anything on the quarterbacks. You'll probably get a progress report, but that's about it. As we've said 100 times on this show, we will not hear Rich Rodriguez name a starting quarterback from now until really they go out and kick things off against Robert Morris in week 1. That's just, it's silly. It makes no sense. It's just not going to happen. You're going to find some progress reports, yes. You're going to get some, this guy did well, this guy needs to do that, but you can make some assumptions, but still you're not going to know until they take the field on August 30th against RMU. So that's going to do it for us here today on Between the Ears. And on Sunday, I plan to do a mailbag on this show. We do a mailbag every single week on the website every Monday. This will be a separate mailbag. That's if we have enough questions. So if we have enough questions to do it, that's what Sunday's episode will be. If not, I'll game plan for something else. I already have a ton of ideas in my head. But go ahead and drop your questions in the comment section here on YouTube. What do you got for me? WVU football camp exclusively. We're going just fall camp. You could talk about roster. You could talk about eligibility stuff. Whatever you want to ask me, drop your comment or your questions in the comment section here on this episode, and we'll answer every single one of them, as long as there's not 55 of them. But we'll try to get through every single one of them on Sunday's episode of Between Years. So again, make sure you drop your questions in the comments. Make sure you give that like and subscribe to our channel at West Virginia on SI. We'll be back here to answer them on Sunday. Take care.